Welcome to the on-demand library here at Tamnoon. This video you're about to watch is from a demo that was presented live at one of our demo festivals. What that means is this was recorded sometime in mid 2025, and so it was a live event, which means two things. One, people messed up a little bit. It was live, which is totally okay. It was a live event. And two, it means that things have changed since that took place. And so companies are constantly putting out new features. In fact, I think even one of the presentations today said, we're going to put new stuff out next week. I wish this was next week. And so if you want an updated version of that solution to see what's changed, please do one of two things. Either reach out to them directly. You can find their website on the page below, or you can request a demo from Tamnoon, and we'll make sure you get in touch with the right individuals. We work closely with them on numerous scenarios. And last but not least, if you have any questions about Tamnoon, we usually work with and partner with these companies that you've seen here today. We sit on top of most of the solutions to help you actually remediate the things that are found by these different detection tools. And so if you need help with understanding where Tamnoon really shines on the remediation side of the house, feel free to reach out to us for a demo by clicking the demo button on the top right of your screen. Of course, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out or visit tamnoon.io for more help and more information. Thanks. All righty, we're going to let people join into this session. Give it just a sec for everyone to flip over to this one, and we will get started here in just one moment. Okay, next up, we have Orel Ben Ishay from Suite Security. We're super excited for our session today. Orel, I'm going to pull you on stage. You can go ahead and share your screen. And while we're doing that, James is going to share something he loves about Suite Security. It's my favorite thing to do is put James on the spot and have him say something he loves about every company that's coming up here today. So we're going to have James share something sweet while I pull Orel up, and Orel gets the screen share go. James.
Hey. Well, there's two things. One is just the name of the company, because you even did it, of say something sweet. Like, it's a fun, endless opportunities to do that. But in general, like Suite has always been focused on what I thought cloud security should be focused on, which is the actually stopping attacks, as opposed to doing this endless ticket creation software dance thing forever. So I have always loved that focus and thought the product was great. So.
Amazing. Orel, we're super happy to have you here, co-founder, VP of R&D at Suite Security. A killer session that we've seen before from you, and I'm super excited to see all the power on display today. If you want to test your screen share before I leave you, and we will let you take the stage without us, but I'm going to make sure you get screen share working, and then we'll leave.
It works, yeah. It works. I'll do it later.
Okay, all you, Orel. Have at it, Orel. Go for it.
Yeah. Okay. Great. So. First of all, guys, thank you and great to see you. And Joseph and James, thank you for having me here today. I'll start by introducing myself. So my name is Orel. I'm a co-founder and VP of R&D at Suite Security. I started my cybersecurity career in the Israeli Special Operations Division, where I served for over 12 years. And after that, I led a research group at an Israeli company called Cognize. To be honest, during my time in offensive cyber operation, I observed a fundamental gap in traditional CDRs. They cannot generate reliable signatures for machine behavior, kind of a behavioral baseline, let's say. And the reason is that these machines, they are not deterministic creatures. There is a human behind the keyboard, and that fact made my job easier on the offensive side. But then I asked myself, what if the environment themselves are deterministic? Microservices, non-human identities, and even human identities in the cloud are deterministic creatures. So what if we could define a behavioral baseline for each one of their attack surfaces? That line of thinking became one of the core triggers behind founding Suite Security, a CDR solution designed for the cloud, built to understand deterministic behavior across workloads, human and non-human identities, all while keeping false positive to a minimum. So here are three things we do differently from other solutions out there. First of all, we have minimal false positive. We cover application level attack with granular L7 capability, and our MTTR is the lowest in the market because we connect the dots from all the three attack layers: applications, workloads, and infrastructure. So I'll share my screen right now. Cool. So today it's common knowledge that you cannot detect threats in the cloud. without the runtime capabilities. To detect attacks in your environment, you must have runtime, because runtime is the key, runtime required. And more than that, you must have a holistic runtime approach covering all the cloud attack layers, whether it's applications, workload, and managed services. Think about it. You cannot predict what the attacker's entry point would be. I'm going to walk through 5 incidents and to demonstrate how we approach investigation and response in the platform. So we will start with the threat section, specifically incident. Cool. So incident is an aggregation of multiple findings connected by time, behavioral, location, and more, giving you the full picture of the attack. On average, Switch send only 1 to 5 incidents per week to our customers, to your SOC team. And I would like to show you a unified incident, a real use case of an unauthorized access and data exfiltration in AWS. So I'll go to the unified incident. As you can see here, we have logs-based incident, sensor-based incident, and unified incident. Okay. So as you can see here, we have an unauthorized access to data exfiltration and in AWS environment and data exfiltration. And first of all, you can see that our AI-powered storyteller generated a natural language summary. What happened, what was affected, what the impact is, and we can read this storyline together to understand why it's so powerful. So as you can see here, the attacker started with a recon, initial recon, then they executed a payload.shell. You can see that as part of this payload.shell execution, they tried to assume role from account A to role in account B. And then they attempted to delete the S3 bucket and the VPC flow logs, as you can see here. Under the incident impact, you can see that they failed to do so. You can see that this action were unsuccessful due to insufficient permission. As you can see, this is not just a detection, it's decision-ready intelligence. The storyline is extremely useful for reducing MTTR. On average, we reduce the MTTR from 3 hours to just 3 minutes. And by the way, in this use case, we didn't have the content of this payload.shell because we don't send sensitive data from our customer environment, but due to the fact that we have solid baseline for all the attack surfaces, we were able to reconstruct the payload on our backend and to detect it as an anomalous and malicious activity. That's the power of behavioral baseline. That's the power of behavioral baseline where you combine it with runtime signals. Now let's move on to the unified graph. Here in the unified graph, you can see that we have all the assets that were involved in that incident, whether it's about the managed services that you can see here, the processes that were executed under this workload, or even the human and non-human identities. For example, let me show you one of the findings that we have, which is based on the CloudTrail raw event. So you can see that we have the CloudTrail raw event. You can see that the attacker was not authorized to perform this operation. And as you can see here, we have this service account. This service account was the trigger to connect these 2 separated incidents from the beginning. Now, as you can see, we enrich on top of that assets that you can see that are involved in that incident, also the human identity. In this case, Barak. You can see that Barak passed through our AWS SSO. We can see the roles that are in use, their permission, and so on. And it's very, very useful. Think about it, that if you can ask Barak, hey, Barak, was that you trying to access our environment, doing some malicious stuff, whether running CryptoMiner or on that pod or doing other malicious stuff against our managed services? The fact that we have a name, a point of contact here, is very, very useful. Now, in most of the cases at that point, the SOC analyst should move to the investigation phase. As you can see here, they can manage the entire operation after they open a war room in our platform, whether it's creating a ticket, writing some comments, changing the status of this incident, for example, and they can even do a full investigation using our IR graph, as you can see here. In this IR graph, you can see these different two sessions, and the IR graph is very useful when you want to understand what would be the most efficient way to kill the attack chain in real time. And we are going to explore this issue later. Great. Now let's say that I want to search for other findings in our platform. Okay. For that, we have the finding explorer, as you can see here. Now let's say that I want to search for L7 finding. Then I want to group by the finding name. Now I can see that I have a suspicious IMDS access over HTTP. I can click on that finding, and then we will see that for some reason our Flask server access these security credential paths using the get method that's under the L7 HTTP stats details. And we can see that it's also an anomaly and malicious finding. And more than that, it's part of a broader incident. So we can click on view incident, and then we can see that there is an SSRF exploitation attack where the attacker tried to manipulate this Flask web server. And a few minutes later, using this demo EC2 credential, he tried to access directly to the managed services. By the way, without any foothold on any workload, there is no post-exploitation activities which he executed on this in this workload. But due to the fact that we have a holistic approach and we cover both workloads and the managed services, we unified these two isolated incidents into one story. Now, let's say that you want to exclude some of the findings in your environment, exclude some of the rules. In most of the cases, you shouldn't, and you don't need to do it because we have a solid baseline that we build to your environment. But let's say that that's the use case. You can filter for the process execution. And then you can open for one of the process execution findings that you are seeing here. Yeah, this then because it's a porty finding. Cool. And if it's part of a broader, let's say, incident, then you have the option to edit the rule. Now, let's say that I want to write my own policies. So we have predefined rule policies, predefined templates in this rules policies page. For example, let's say that I want to get an alert or a finding with critical severity for process name, which equals to SSHD. I can add more and more conditions. And of course, these methods, under the method, we support full regex, as you can see here. One click, and I'll get findings regarding that rule. Okay, now we move forward to another use case. I want to believe that most of our audience here is familiar with the exutils vulnerability. For that, I'll move to the sensor types event, and let's search for the exutils. Okay. So as you can see here, we have the exit-vector exploitation attempt. You have the name of the CVE, and we can see that the platform detected a malicious SSH connection attempt, which is unique to this exploitation method of the exutils backdoor. Besides the storyline that we can see here and the incident impact and, of course, the graph, we first of all have the name of the developer who pushed that vulnerable image to production. Here again, it's Barak. But on top of that, we generated the AI playbook for you. So as you can see, we automatically categorize the playbook operations based on different action types. You can see that we have third-party checks, for example, advanced, and quick win. For example, here under the quick win, we can see that the recommendation is to verify if the domain is flagged for any malicious activity. And under the advanced section, we can see that we have the specific command that we should execute within the container to get the source IPs of the SSH connections. By the way, we have also a section regarding the purpose and the education brief, so it will be easier for the SOC analysts to understand why they should do, why they need to do so. Cool. So as you can see in this specific playbook, most of the recommendation here encourage performing deeper network analysis, whether it's regarding the DNS or the SSH. So we can do so using our connection tab. Yeah. So here in the connection tab, it's a kind of a cloud native version of Wireshark. And we map all the connection and the microservice level, making this feature very useful for full network investigation, for full network analysis. So let's say that I want to click on this NetFlow. As you can see here, there are 5 different connections in the same minute from the same assets to North Korean IP. Okay, it's easy to observe that there is a connection to some CNC server, which helps us to decide that there is a malicious actor in our environment. Now we should isolate the workload and cut off the attack path immediately. By the way, we don't need any VPC flow logs or other network logs enabled in order to get this mapping of all the connections in our environment. It's done based only on our sensor. So I can go back to the incidents and to the IR graph. And now we can see that we have the entire process tree that created as part of that incident. Now, let's see how powerful the IR graph is for making, let's say, response decision. It helps you quickly understand the attack flow and identify the most strategic point to break it. So I would like to get a guesses from the audience. Which process would you kill to make the biggest impact and get an immediate effect? We have this SSHD that spawn another SSHD process. Here you can see the bash that the attacker got on this workload. And then you can see all the processes that were executed as part of this manual session, including the connection to North Korea IP. I'll wait 10 seconds. Please drop your guesses in the chat. Okay, cool. So there is no doubt that we need to terminate this malicious SSHD. Yeah? The attacker will immediately lose shell access to this machine, and by that we are going to terminate this attack chain very, very fast. We can click on the SSHD process, and here we have the option to terminate it. Very simple. Now we can do everything, as you can see here, using the UI via API or using predefined workflows. We'll talk about it later. Yeah, so now we'll move forward to the next scenario, which I think that's for all the security teams who feel blind to application layer attacks in their environment. And to be honest, I agree with them. There are so much interactions at the application layer now that we've broken the monolith. And traditional EDRs trying lift and shift approach, and they're trying to lift and shift their sensors into the cloud, but they simply don't have the visibility into that layer. The result is clear. You are not protected against L7 attacks. In the next section, in the next use case, you will see our application detection and response mechanism in action. It's a simple scenario, but one that is very hard to detect. An application layer attack against an exposed web service. So a filter for the sensor, and then the application tag. Cool. So in general, there is only one effective way to detect this kind of attack. You must have L7, application level interception capabilities. And in large-scale environments, L7 interception is often avoided due to performance concerns, but that's not the case with Sweet. Our sensor is built in Rust for maximum efficiency, and combined with smart aggregation operations at the kernel level, it allows deep L7 inspection with minimal overhead. As a result, Sweet provides ultimate protection against application layer attacks, even in a high-scale production environment. Now, besides the storyline that we have here, and you can see that the attacker succeeded to manipulate this vulnerable image, including SSRF, XSS, SQL injection, LFI, and even more, I want to move to the investigation section, specifically to the table tab. Now I want to group by the event type, and then by finding name. And we can see that under the L7 suspected attacks, we have command injection, XSS, SSRF, a lot of malicious stuff at the application level. I just want to show one of the findings that we have here. Under the L7 suspected attack, you can see clearly the command injection. The attacker is trying to access the cat etc shadow, and we have the status code is 200 OK. Then we can jump to the attack attempt. And here we can see that the attacker, under the request as part of the headers, send the cat etc shadow, and then in the response code, we have the entire body of the content of that file. Without L7, you cannot get a visibility to such kind of incident in your environment. Great. I think that now we are ready to move forward to the serverless environment attacks. So in general, we cover serverless environments like Lambda, Fargate, and their equivalent in other cloud providers. But before we start walking through the Lambda scenario, I want to explain how we cover Lambda function in the Sweet platform. So in general, there are two main attack surfaces for Lambda functions. The control plane, for example, if attacker's goal is to override the Lambda entry point, this can be detected using CloudTrail logs. Second, data plane. So this requires a sensor. So the sensor must be in charge or must monitor activity within the Lambda itself. For example, if the attacker tried to execute a command injection attacks against a vulnerable Flask server and spawns a process, this kind of behavior can only be detected with a sensor in place. So Sweet customers are covered against attacks from both the control plane and the data plane, giving them the ultimate protection against Lambda-based attacks. So here we want to go to a unified incident. I'll search for the Lambda use case. Great. So as you can see here, using this malicious script of lambda theft.shell, the attacker tried to update the Lambda function code. Of course, there are a lot of recon activities like listing the Lambda functions. They try to stop the CloudTrail login and so on. But I think that this is the most interesting stuff in the Lambda world for that incident. So here, first of all, we have the diagram. We can see that the attacker using this YOLO role identity tried to update this important Lambda function. And we can see that it's malicious and anomaly finding. And under the relevant section, we can see how many bytes it tries to overwrite. For example, that's the code size. Great. So I think that now we are ready to move forward to the deployment page and the integrations that we have. So first of all, we have a lot of integrations, as you can see here, whether it's notification systems, ticketing systems, SIEM integrations. You can define workflows with external workflows manager solutions like Tor, or you can define workflows in our platform. And of course, we can add more and more integrations upon request. That's a very easy task. Under the deployment section, you can see that it's very, very simple to connect the account, the sensor, and of course the logs. So let's say that I want to connect an AWS account, whether it's a cloud account or organization level. I have all the data here, very, very simple. The same concept for sensors. By the way, we support also on-prem environment, as you can see here. And there we can talk about it in a different session, but there are a lot of problems regarding visibility and all that stuff because you don't have even logs from the cloud infrastructure. Now let's say that I want to deploy a sensor via Pulumi in Kubernetes. And the last thing is about connecting CloudTrail or CloudWatch. I just need to choose for the account, to choose the account, and then to enter the bucket URI, and I'm done. That's it. So it takes on average about 5-10 minutes to connect these three types of integrations. And by the way, you have the entire visibility after that regarding all the sensors that are installed in your environment. When we got the last update, keep alive from them. The same concept for the logs, whether we have an issue or not. Yeah. So I think that's a good point to wrap things up.